I am proudly repping my City Bones shirt. I still want to have hope that there is hope for a successful adaptation, and I think that it was getting there, and then everyone just hated it, but I didn't, so there's that. Hello everybody, my name is Quinn, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the Shadowhunters TV show, which is a TV show on Freeform, which is formerly ABC Family, which is based on the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to make this video. Some people really like the Shadowhunters TV show, and some people really don't. I really wanted to make this video because a subscriber requested that I share my thoughts on the Shadowhunters TV show, but please go into this video knowing that I really personally do not like the Shadowhunters TV show, and if you are going to be offended by this content, I wouldn't watch it if I were you. But if you do want to hear my opinions on the Shadowhunters TV show, keep on watching. Now, when they first announced that they were going to be making the Shadowhunters TV show, I was very excited. I couldn't wait to see all of my favorite characters on the screen again and see, the wonderful story that Cassandra Clare has created. But then I was reading an article on the Shadowhunters TV show development, and it said that it was being produced by ABC Family. And there, from that point on, my expectations of the show were very low. Because, as you know, ABC Family tends to develop shows that are more geared towards like a pre-teen, younger teen audience, and they're very, very dramatic. And I didn't even want ABC Family to touch the Mortal Instruments series. But I was still a little hopeful that they could turn it around and make it into the show that the series really deserved. So even though I was very skeptical, I was still a little hopeful that, ABC Family, now Freeform, could pull through and really make a great series. Now, I really wish that the hope had stayed alive, but sadly, it did not. You should know that my review is only based off of the first 6 episodes because that's all I could bring myself to watch. The show has many problems, and I know that a lot of people have problems with that they're not including all of the right information, and I do understand that when you are making a book to TV adaptation that obviously you can't include everything, but it's not just that they're not including everything, it's just a bad TV show in general, not a bad adaptation, but just a bad TV show, and I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, the writing is so bad. It makes me cringe. It's that bad. It just does not seem real or like any of the characters would speak like that in Cassandra Clare's book, and it really confuses me because Cassandra Clare's dialogue could so easily be converted into the TV show, but they decided to make it so heavily dramatic. They tried to push everything. Instead of using her great dialogue that they already had, they tried to rewrite everything instead of using a lot of the original lines, and I think that if they had stuck with Cassandra Clare's writing, it would have been a much better TV show, because actors can only do so much. If the writing is really bad, there's nothing much they can do about it other than say the lines to their best of their ability, but sometimes that isn't enough. For instance, I was just watching the 6th episode of Shadowhunters to kind of prepare myself for this video, and Clary said to Magnus, she says, "I'm ready, Warlock, bring it." And I was just like, oh my god, Clary would never ever say that. She did get sassier as the books went on, but she wasn't that courageous and upfront in City of Bones, and that is my major problem with this TV show, is that the writing is bad and they change who the characters are. Their character traits are very different in the books than they are in the movies. I'm all for changing plot elements to fit the TV show, but you can't change the very basis of who the characters are. It just feels like you're lying to the fans, and I don't really appreciate that. For instance, in the TV show, they portray Jace as being very aggressive and less sarcastic than he is in the books, and Jace isn't this aggressive sort of beastly guy. Like in the 6th episode, he's almost like full-on attacking Simon. And that's just not Jace to me, or that's not how I read Jace in the book. And I just feel like, you shouldn't be misrepresenting a character in the TV show like that. It just doesn't do the character justice. It doesn't do the books justice. Now, Clary is probably the character I have the most problems with. They started her out much too fierce and just out there and acts like she knows completely what she's doing all the time, when in the first book, that is not how Clary is at all. And if you're starting her character all the way up here, then there's not a lot of room for character development as we go from City of Bones to City of Heavenly Fire if the show makes it that long. Clary is not innocent enough, and that she's kind of whiny and annoying, and I'm just really not liking her character as much as I did in the books. I kind of do like Alec's character in the TV show more than I liked it in the book. He's still very like dark and gloomy, but he's also has this innocent quality, and he's much more kind in the TV show than he is in the books. And I really do enjoy Clary and Alec's relationship in the TV show much more than so in the book. I'm really unsure how I feel about Izzy's character. I almost feel like, from what I've seen from the first 6 episodes at least, that they're kind of making her very wishy-washy. Like, she just kind of takes everything her mom dishes out at her, and when everyone insults her, she kind of takes it, and that's not Izzy. She is feisty and she fights back, and I just am really sad that they're just making Izzy into this kind of like victim-like character when she brings so much to the book. She helps so much as a team effort. They're kind of slut-shaming her in the show, which I just don't think is cool. Like, they're bringing way too much attention to her relationship with Melorn. Her mom's always just like, oh, your connections to the fairies. It just doesn't sit well with me, and I think that the creators really should have taken a second look at that, because slut-shaming in shows is just really not okay, and I'm really just not a fan of that. I will have to say, though, that I am very pleased with the way that they are representing Izzy's relationship to Max in episode 6. I thought that was really cute, and that was Izzy at her best in the TV show, was when she was with Max, because that's when I really felt like I was watching Izzy in the books, and it was just a really great moment. And I felt like if the whole TV show was just like that feeling, that I would really enjoy it. Now, it's really hard to watch the Shadowhunters TV show without comparing it to the City of Bones movie. That sadly flopped. I am one of those people who really enjoyed the City of Bones movie. It was pretty much the aesthetic of what I envisioned in my head. It definitely wasn't perfect, I will admit that. It did have flaws, especially towards the end, but I definitely think it was a more successful adaptation than Shadowhunters, and next part of my video now is going to be comparing Shadowhunters to the City of Bones movie. Now, in this section, I'm basically going to be comparing the acting and the overall aesthetic from the Shadowhunters TV show and the City of Bones movie. Our first matchup that we have is Kat McNamara as Clary Frey and Lily Collins as Clary Frey. I'm not the biggest fan of Kat as Clary. I think that she's kind of whiny towards all the characters and kind of pouts, and I just don't see that as Clary. She's not innocent enough, she tries to be too brave, and I just don't think that she's a Clary Frey that I envisioned in my head. Now, I really liked Lily Collins. I just really enjoy Lily Collins as an actress, but I think that she really captured who Clary Frey was. You know, she was very timid and scared in the beginning, which we didn't really see a lot from Kat, other than like her like hysterical like crying. You know, Lily Collins just gave much more believable performance, and versus Kat and Lily, I would have to give Lily the win on this one. Now we're going to move on to Jamie Campbell Bower as Jace and Dominic Sherwood as Jace. Now, when I first saw that Dominic Sherwood was going to be Jace, I was really excited, actually. I thought that he looked a lot more like Jace than Jamie Campbell Bower did, but I soon learned that looks is not what makes Jace. I think that even though Jamie Campbell Bower may not look more like Jace, he acted more like Jace than Dominic Sherwood does. I think that Jace is a very sarcastic person, but he cares a lot, and that's just not coming off to me in Dominic's performance. I think that he's being very aggressive and kind of douchey in a way, and I'm just not really appreciating it. I think Jamie Campbell Bower really took the essence of Jace and had his sarcasm and he had his wit, but when you saw his scenes with Clary, Lily Collins, you could see the passion and their connection. And when I see Dominic Sherwood with Kat, I don't see a connection. So I would really have to give this one to Jamie Campbell Bower over Dominic Sherwood. Our next matchup is Matthew Daddario as Alec and Kevin Zegers as Alec. I really wasn't a fan of Kevin Zegers as Alec in the City of Bones movie. I thought that he, one, looked very old, and he played the role much too aggressive for Alec. I know that Alec wasn't too nice to Clary in the book, but he was just kind of over the top about it, and I didn't really appreciate that. I honestly really kind of like Matthew Daddario as Alec. I think that he looks the part, and he brings something new to Alec that we usually don't see till the end of the series, but I think it's really necessary to kind of see the softer side of Alec earlier on in the show so that people aren't totally turned off to his character. So in this round, I would have to crown Matthew Daddario as the winner of Alec over Kevin Zegers. Our next roundup is Alberto Resendez versus Robert Sheehan as Simon. Now this is a hard one because I think that both Alberto and Robert gave very strong performances. As Simon, I think that they both brought something different to the role. I mostly saw Robert as very much the personality of Simon, his very squirrely sort of nature, while I think that Alberto really embodies what it means to be Clary's best friend. As far as aesthetically, I think that Alberto looks a little more like Simon than I pictured in my head, but Robert didn't look bad as Simon either, and I'm gonna have to call a draw on this one because I really can't decide. They were both really great actors as Simon. Now for the next matchup, I might mess up the name, so please don't kill me in the comments, but we're gonna have Esmeralda Tobia, who's the Shadowhunters version of Isabel, and Gemma West, who is the City of Bones movie version of Isabel. I think that both actresses kind of have their faults in playing Isabel. I think that Gemma was a little too aggressive in playing Isabel, while Esmeralda was kind of too shy in playing Isabel and too innocent, whereas Izzy is kind of feisty. So I think that they both definitely have their shortcomings. Esmeralda is a much more believable Isabel, I guess. I think that Gemma West kind of, again, looked too old. I think that Esmeralda is exactly how I pictured Izzy in my head. Not exactly, but very close. So I would have to give Esmeralda the win over Gemma West in this category. Now I'm going to be talking about the differences in aesthetics between the TV show and the movie. The movie was really strong until the end, and then there was so much action, and I think that Valentine's character was a little over the top with his dreadlocks and everything, and it kind of just took where it was going a really good turn. It was really accurate to the book, and then it kind of just went downhill a little bit at the end. There was too much action, not enough explaining. Everything seemed a little more dramatic at the end than it did in the beginning. The beginning felt very realistic, and the ending of the movie felt more ABC Family than the rest of the movie, which was very professionally done and had the right tone. I think that that's a very important thing about the City of Bones movie, is that it had the perfect tone. It definitely felt like the vision of the City of Bones movie was the vision that Cassandra Clare had in her head, where, the vision of the Shadowhunters TV show is Cassandra Clare's vision put on steroids. And so I think that the City of Bones movie definitely portrays more of the book in an accurate depiction than the TV show does. I just really don't think that this series is meant for a TV show, just based on the way that it is broken up, at least not the first couple books. I can see a City of Heavenly Fire could be a TV show because it's broken into many different settings and locations and stuff like that, and there's many different characters that they're following. But in City of Bones, in the first couple of books, it's generally following one storyline throughout the entire book, and I think that they're just working too hard to divide it into these chunks, and it doesn't seem natural, and it doesn't flow to me. Where the movie lacked was its development of characters like Simon, Isabel, and Alec and Magnus. I feel like they weren't really fully developed in that movie, and I think that that is something that comes in the later books, but it's so centric on Clary and Jace that we kind of lose a bit of Alec, Simon, and Izzy, and all the other great characters in the show, and I feel like the Shadowhunters TV show does a better job at highlighting those characters. So the things that I do like about the Shadowhunters TV show is that I think that the cast is more aesthetically what I thought in my head. Their features fit more about the character descriptions than I feel like they did in the City of Bones movie, but I think that aesthetics is not a replacement for acting, but I definitely think that the characters in the Shadowhunters TV show looked better than the characters in the City of Bones movie, but that's just my personal opinion. And I really appreciate some of the relationships in Shadowhunters, such as Isabel and Max and Clary and Alec. But as for the Shadowhunters TV show, that is all the good things I can say about it. Again, I don't really like the writing, I don't really like the directing, I think that the acting isn't always where it needs to be, especially with Kat Nakamura, and Dom, and definitely I think that the world isn't how I pictured it. It very differs from the books to the TV show adaptation, and I know that's because of budget, but I think that they could have done a better job at making the world more believable, because right now I just think that I see it as a TV show. I mean, I'm not immersed in the world like I was in the movie, but, you know, I do understand that things have to be changed, but I'm just not going to probably continue watching it. And now we have our final matchup, which is the City of Bones movie versus the Shadowhunters TV show, and which one I think is better. And obviously you guys could probably already tell that I like the City of Bones movie better. I just think that the acting is better. I think that the world is closer to what I pictured in my head. Pretty much the two of my favorite characters are Clary and Jace, and I think that the acting of Clary and Jace in the movie is so much better than in the TV show. I just think that given a bigger budget, you can do a lot more, and that's not a fault of the TV show, but I just think that the movie was a more successful adaptation. I hope that you guys weren't offended by any of my comments. I do try to keep them constructive, and I'm never going to give a negative review without explaining why I don't like something, but everyone's allowed to their opinion. If you love Shadowhunters, then all the power to you, and I hope that you really enjoy the Shadowhunter world that they're able to create, because I think that everyone should enjoy their characters on the screen. And if you do, please keep on watching. All the power to you. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I will see you next week. Bye guys!